devil cousin is on the
All right,
screen.
folks, this is another serious interview that we
Lord.
need to speak about Praedial Larceny. And it sees a sharp increase during the holiday season. Here to share the strategies being employed by the police force to tackle the growing issue is head of the Agricultural Protection Branch, Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police, Oral Pasco. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile.
I was going to say me.
Let me just thank you for your service right up front. This Agricultural Protection Branch is something new?
Yes, it is new. Matter of fact, it was launched June 13th of this year.
Okay.
Wow.
And it came out of the need for a dedicated unit in the JSF with island-wide reach to service the agriculture industry.
So tell me what obtained before this.
So before that, we had about 5 or 6 units, small units with probably a vehicle or so, in about 6 or 7 divisions. And these units would do the patrol and so forth. But it wasn't widespread, and we all know that Praedial Larceny is a widespread thing. So it wasn't that dedicated, and they were controlled by the divisions. And of course, these units would have been used to do other functions.
Okay.
This new branch is 100% dedicated. When these persons get up in the morning, their own sole purpose is to protect the agriculture industry.
Boy, thank God, because Praedial Larceny is such a big thing. Tell us a little bit about how prevalent it is in Jamaica.
It is widespread. There are various studies, 5 to 6 billion, and everything is in billion, of course.
Yeah.
And 13 to 15 billion. And it affects billion of losses due to Praedial Larceny. And we're also looking at the losses due to persons not wanting to invest because of the effect of Praedial Larceny. So those misinvestments, what we call opportunity costs, those are some of the losses we're looking at. And it affects rural communities a lot. It affects potential persons, like young persons want to go into farming.
Agriculture.
And we know we have a dying age. The farmers are very elderly persons. So that replacement is not there.
It's not happening. And we spend so much on importing food. I'm sorry, Neville. I wanted to ask, where is it most prevalent, or is it almost 50-50? Is it in the cattle, and the small ruminants are mostly the vegetables and food and produce?
So cattle, use the word livestock. Livestock is in terms of value per unit is very high. Goats, and of course the turnover is quicker. So there's a higher demand for protein. Protein in general is where most of the issues are. Persons still coconuts and other, but a coconut tree can grow more coconut the following year. Not that we're going to diminish it, but once you lose your livestock, you have to start over literally from scratch. So that is where most of the challenges are, and the parishes that carry most of those are really the breadbasket parishes. So St. Catherine, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, St. Anne to an extent, St. Mary, but it's island-wide.
Yeah. Sir, obviously I don't want you to give out no secrets or the thief them know what you're up to. But how easy or how difficult it is for you? Because they're stealing in the dead at night and you're not going to find out till so.
So it is not easy. However, when you have limited resources to carry to cover the full island, what you have to do is to be strategic. So one of our main strategy is to use existing laws in terms of the movement of agriculture produce. So the receipt book system, the tagging for cattle, and hopefully we'll get goats by next year, and just verifying when you're moving on the roads that these produce were legitimately obtained. So those laws are obtained in Agriculture Produce Act and Unlawful Possession of Property Act, and the recently updated Praedial Larceny Prevention Act. So there are a cocktail of laws that we use to actually try to control as a control mechanism. You would have seen some effect when some cattle farming in Christiana are complaining that they're not able to purchase the cattle and move them without the tags, because we have been on it with a zero tolerance approach. So it forces persons to tag the animals, which make it difficult for people to steal untagged animals and transport them. And we have been doing a lot of monitoring of the vectors that actually use like the slaughterhouses, abattoirs, markets. We have just increased monitoring significantly, and it is paying dividends.
Yeah, would that be one of the issues before that the farmers are not taking care of the livestock and stuff? Would that be one of the issues?
One of the major challenges that there are laws put on the books, Agriculture Produce Act, in terms of the receipt system. Farmers were very reluctant, but under the law, we can actually charge them for selling commercial level produce without issuing the receipt.
Even if it's not, even if it is their own.
Even if it is their own. Listen, if you grow the crops or the produce and you consume it yourself, fine. But once you're going to sell the produce, there are a lot of laws, the Public Health Act, Butchers Regulations and so forth, Agricultural Produce Act, unlawful possession of property. It is there to protect the public, and we're enforcing. So we're enforcing what exists on the books, and then what it does, when you have a cow, you can't sell a cow, you just say, you know what, I'm going to get it tagged, versus the suspicion of government is watching you, they want to be part of the system. But persons are very incentivized, put it that way, to register, because they possibly don't want to criminalize persons who are innocently trying to sell their goods.
Tag it and trace it. Passport. That's on the end of the farmer. Yes. What happens if I purchase stolen meat? So
under the Larceny Act, receiving stolen properties is an offense, and I think the fines have gone up. Can't remember the exact figures.
Even if I don't know, so I'm going to thief it?
Well, if it is, we arrest and put before the courts. We put together the case, we get statements before the courts. And there are other pieces of legislation, of course. That is why we ask for a receipt. So if you stole something, you are supposed to require that I need a receipt. And the receipt is traceable. The receipt is tied to a farmer, tied to a location of the farm, type of crops. So it is a traceability system. So traceability is where we have our edge as the police. Trace anything you purchase commercially, agricultural produce, you must be able to prove and give us a receipt, something to trace back to the original, to verify that it was lawfully obtained.
I raise it because one of the things we said is that Praedial Larceny increases heading into the Yuletide season, and you know, part of that is companies are having parties, events. So, but if you're buying the meat and you don't have the purpose stamp and you don't trace it, you're wrong to as much as the man who thief the meat and sell it.
And you're correct, and that is why I mentioned the Public Health Act, because it has the meat inspection regulation, the butcher's regulation. There are some laws that covers. So put this way, if someone steal an untagged animal and they slaughter it and they try to transport it, and we see that cow carcass in a vehicle and it is not stamped, that's the reason suspicion that more like it's stolen and did someone. So we can charge them for under butcher's regulation, we can charge the Public Health spec in regulations, plus the receipt. Plus, of course, it won't have any tag. So we use all the tools that we have, and we have found it to be very effective. We know that at some point they might shift, but we will shift our strategies accordingly with the time.
What about punishment, sir, for want of a better word? So if you catch me a thief, I go to it.
Well, obviously, under the Larceny Act, we have increased the fines and the penalties. Unlawful possession of property is one of them, and I think that's up to $1 million. And of course the receipt book system, if you have the animal and you can't prove. I think December 2023 the fines was raised up to $3 million, 3 years imprisonment. And the recent amendment this year of the Praedial Prevention Act, and there are some consequential amendments to other pieces of legislation tied to it, up to $3 million 3 years. So there's no 2,000, 3,000 more in the other books.
Do you have a history of locking up people? I asked that, so if people say, if them catch me, I go to jail, you know, so. I'm
happy you asked that question. So prior to the branch farming, up to June, we had about 38 arrests on the books. Up to this morning I check, we have 220.
Wow.
And the convictions have moved since that short period of time, and I think it's a lot more than what I'm saying, but I'm just telling the figures that I can verify. From 2 to at least 35 or so.
Oh, that's good.
And I know it's a lot more, and we're going to get, because a lot of cases are in the system, arrest and charge, but they have not come out in terms of, and we're getting a high level of conviction.
Well done, well done.
Delia asked about the different types of livestock. What about the areas? Does it happen more in the west or the east?
Well, of course, it rarely happens in Kingston and St. Andrew. That's where the animals are sold. Right. However, what we call Area 3, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, where they have large plains and the rare animals are a lot sent, and the rural areas of persons have goats and so forth. It happens. It is very. It happens a lot. It happens a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
Good work, sir.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
And thanks again for your service, sir.
Yes, sir.
Head of the Agricultural Protection Branch, Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police, Orad Pascal. By the way,
Yes.
How we get in touch with you if somebody want to find you because them rob him?
311.
You're not a different number from...
No, it's the same number. You
It's
put
the
it,
same.
we have police formations. You
Yeah.
put it through that and your nearest police station. Okay. And we encourage persons that try to know your police stations in your zone, the nearest one, so you report them, because they are the one who will have closer contact to intercept or anything.
Yes, sir. We have someone in studio who is not a thief, but we'd like to have a chat with him before he leaves.
No problem.
Him kind of off-key sometimes.
We serve, protect, and reassure.
Thank you very much.
Put him side of the... this.
But he's not a thief. I just want to put it out there.
I'm happy that you can vote for him.
No, I can't vote,
I'll
but
give a good antecedent.
Him have some other areas that we're not too impressed with.
We can have a discussion.
Still to come. We get the details on activities for Credit Union Week.
And say bye to Clive.
Thank you.